Zombies, one of the greatest creatures that modern media has blessed us with, and one that I've covered in multiple videos on this channel, ranking these zombies from different franchises based on their strength, speed, intelligence, and many other factors. But in today's video, we're applying a bit of a plot twist, because after learning so much about these franchises, it's time for me to judge whether I think I could survive these zombie apocalypses if they came into our world. And with 14 video game zombie franchises to cover, let's start with one of the OGs, Dead Rising. With Dead Rising, it's hard to not have fun. Crazy weapon combos with horde-slaying abilities make these zombies seem so basic and ineffective. But if the Dead Rising zombies were dropped in today's world, would I survive? Well, the first important note about Dead Rising zombies is their lack of much variation or mutation. Franchises like Left 4 Dead, Dying Light, and Resident Evil have so much variation in the creatures trying to kill you that I can't help but feel unimpressed by Dead Rising. The zombies aren't that fast, don't have special abilities, and only have strength in large numbers rather than being individual threats. The other large factor we need to account for is how easily the Dead Rising world was able to develop a counter and cure for zombification. Within the game, a product named Zombrex is able to hold off someone from turning into a zombie for 24 hours. So, anyone bitten by a zombie can just continuously take Zombrex to avoid ever becoming a walking corpse. And with real-world medicine, I'd imagine a cure similar to Zombrex would be developed and a product made to save millions from turning. I think I could hold out. I even think I could find a group of fellow survivors that I could survive with to hold out while everything is dealt with. The only things that I could think of preventing me from surviving would be nighttime, where Dead Rising zombies get a slight boost in speed and aggressiveness, the infected wasps that can spread the virus, and the government getting an itchy trigger finger and just dropping a nuke on my head.
I want to start by wishing a double happy birthday.
Those three things are the only major hurdles I see in my survival chances. But let's not forget, within Dead Rising 3, the zombie virus is largely taken care of, and people have chips in their bodies that can administer the Zombrex medicine to keep them from turning. Now, the chips fail due to some classic diabolical video game villain behavior, which causes the game's events to unravel. Still, if those chips are possible in the game, I think real-world humanity stands a chance. I could beat a Dead Rising zombie, scavenge for survival, and hold out long enough for modern medicine to save me. Now, moving into Call of Duty Zombies, things change drastically. If you've never played Call of Duty Zombies, the best way to describe the experience is pure chaos. Within the multiple games containing zombies, you can find zombified plant monsters, zombie cyborgs, zombie giants, teleporting zombies, and just so much more. If all these zombies were to enter our world, we wouldn't stand a chance. Even if we had the fun weapons in Call of Duty like the ray gun, ice staff, thunder gun, and more, there's no way anyone survives the endless hordes of different zombie types trying to kill us. I don't stand a chance, you don't stand a chance, no one stands a chance, except maybe Samantha Maxis. I will take the loss on Call of Duty Zombies and move on to The Last of Us. The Last of Us is one of the greatest zombie franchises to exist. Known for its compelling narrative, fascinating world, and emotionally impactful characters, it's hard not to feel like I could survive. I mean, looking at the games and show, you'll see QZs, also known as quarantine zones, are safe havens around the United States where pockets of humanity hold out. The problem is just surviving long enough to make it there. Unlike Dead Rising, The Last of Us has zombies that are quick and agile enough to hunt down their targets and turn anyone into an infected. Look no further than the scene from The Last of Us Season 1, where the cordyceps fungus partially restores that old bag of bones Mrs. Adler and runs after Sarah, Joel's daughter. With zombies like that running around the world, I don't give myself that high of a chance for survival. If I had to give it a number, it's for sure going to be a single digit. It can't be 0 because these quarantine zones mean humanity finds a way to survive, but it takes a lot of good luck and wise decision making to make it that far. So, The Last of Us is definitely a no-go for myself. Alright, now it's time to talk about the franchise that I have gotten the most flack for covering, and mind you, I used to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's, a franchise with a community that will eat you alive if you don't agree about some things. Plants vs. Zombies is certainly a zombie video game franchise that I don't see eye to eye with many people on. When I look at the zombies and their variants in Plants vs. Zombies, I see a very unintelligent and unimpressive zombie force. With viruses and zombie types found in other games like Call of Duty and Dying Light, the PvZ zombies just fall short for a few reasons. The zombies in PvZ act less like a virus trying to spread and more like an army trying to conquer, with their leader Dr. Zomboss being the only real intellectual found in all of the zombie lands. I find it difficult to believe that some nation's elite paramilitary group wouldn't be able to eliminate him and neutralize the entire zombie force. If he's the only reason why anything happens within the zombie army and why they can organize in some fashion to attack, I don't see zombies surviving for too long. And don't forget that if these zombies enter our world, we will also get the super plants. And if these zombies are dying to pieces of corn and peas, I'd like to see them hold up against the cold lead of real bullets. This leads to my belief that I'm surviving the Plants vs. Zombies apocalypse. I don't care what era they get their zombies from with that time machine, they're all going down. Now, for a more traditional zombie apocalypse, World War Z. So for all the problems I have with the World War Z game, for being boring and repetitive, I still admit the zombies in this game are dangerous. Just looking at some clips from the movie and game will prove that these zombies will run you over. No matter where you are, once these zombies get into that stampede formation, anything in their path is getting taken down. And like the movie, the main way in which the virus is spread is through bites, so with that many zombies piling up to get you, it's nearly impossible to escape without being bitten. Interestingly, the only way to survive World War Z is by holding out long enough for Brad Pitt's character in the film to discover how the zombies work. The game occurs in the film's universe rather than the book, and in the movie, Brad Pitt's character, Jerry Lane, discovers that the zombie virus only targets healthy potential hosts. To not become a target of the zombies, you can inject yourself with a disease that causes zombies to overlook you. The only problem is that it takes a lot of time for the non-zombified doctors to build up on this idea and create enough viruses for the rest of the world to infect themselves with and survive. Which is why World War Z gets a rating of probably gonna die. Because with how fast and dangerous the zombies already are, it's a slim chance I make it to the point where Brad Pitt saves me. From one iconic zombie name to another, we arrive at The Walking Dead. As much as I love the game and understand the large audience that watches the show and reads the comics, I have to admit this is by far the most underwhelming zombie franchise out there. Hear me out. Nearly 75% of all deaths to the zombies in The Walking Dead game could have been avoided by better planning, preparation, and common sense. In my playthrough, I saw way too many characters dying to zombies in the most pathetic ways possible. I understand that large hordes of zombies cornering you is just a standard way to die in the Walking Dead world, but what isn't normal is how some characters have zero survival instinct in other non-cornered situations, and it greatly bothers me. The zombies are slow, loud, and super easy to trick. If these people can't survive in a world with these zombies, I'm scared to ever introduce them to Dying Light, Resident Evil, or The Last of Us. But, in the name of fairness, it's important to mention that not all zombies come from bites. Within The Walking Dead, dying a natural death from sickness, or dying in any fashion that doesn't sever the brain, means your body will be resurrected as a walker. So, as humans naturally die, there will always be zombies around. Still, I'm confident that if the Walking Dead zombie virus came to our world, I'd be able to tough it out long enough for us as a collective world to figure things out and get everything under control. Which is why I'm giving it a rating of, I think I'd make it. But while control might be something achievable in The Walking Dead, within Resident Evil, there's none of that. Like Call of Duty Zombies, Resident Evil is a world with all sorts of different horrors and monsters all trying to kill you. If these abominations found their way into the real world, along with the diabolical Umbrella Corporation cooking up new monsters, I'm sorry, but I'm dead. With no main character plot armor to protect me, there's no other way to put it other than my story ends pretty fast, and I'm dead, definitely not making it. From Resident Evil, we now detour to the odd but fascinating world of Guts and Black Powder. If you've never heard of it, don't blame you, it's on Roblox, a platform not well known for zombie games. However, the main draw to Guts and Black Powder is its unique concept, because instead of setting zombie apocalypses in the modern day, the developers decided to take a trip back into the time of the early 1800s during the Napoleonic Wars. And within the game, zombies range from typical walking zombies to variants that use equipment like explosives, axes, and more to take down targets. So, if this zombie virus ever broke out and entered our world, it would be pure chaos. If the zombies started to take over military personnel and make use of grenades, knives, and other weapons, that's a massive problem. It's also important to mention that the virus, the blight, isn't stereotypical. The virus is not affected by medicine, but rather by religious relics like crucifixes and blessings to cleanse infected people. With that in mind, I don't see a possibility that modern day society can control the virus and stop the spread. And also, don't sleep on Guts and Black Powder. If you play Roblox, give it a try. But let's move on to a franchise I do love, Halo. If you didn't know Halo had zombies, let me introduce you to its version of them, the Flood. Originating from the corrupted matter of ancient beings, the Flood is a galactic parasitic infection that doesn't need a lot for it to destroy your whole world. All it needs is a few life forms to fall victim to its flood spores, and the process begins. The infected flood spores spread rapidly, converting any organic matter they can into more incubators and foot soldiers to continue spreading the parasite. And for those thinking that just shooting the incubators and foot soldiers does a good enough job to stop the spread, you're wrong. These flood spores can spread via saliva or airborne contact, and if there isn't an immediate available host to infect, they can remain dormant for decades, waiting to find a host. But once the parasite continues to grow, it starts to take over entire planets, creating its own self-sustaining environments where it can produce more spores and vessels to carry the flood parasite. There's a lot of really cool info regarding the flood that I mentioned in this video, which you can click right now. But in terms of the flood coming to Earth, there's a 99.999999999999999% chance we all die and become a part of the flood. We're definitely not surviving that one, Chief. Another franchise I'm probably not surviving is Dying Light, which is considered by some to be the greatest video game zombie franchise ever. As someone who's played the games, I think you could argue Dying Light 2 is one of the worst sequels ever, but this isn't the video for that. This franchise has some of the coolest and most dangerous zombie variants out there, with some being able to revive the dead like revenants, or smash through walls and throw concrete chunks like demolishers, and let's not forget the apex predator of the Dying Light universe, volatiles, which are the most dangerous with their speed, agility, and power, capable of taking anyone down. Dying Light's virus, the Haran virus, is spread through contact with saliva like most other franchises. But unlike Dead Rising and The Walking Dead, and more like World War Z, freshly turned zombies gain this unstoppable stamina that makes biting targets much easier. Which is why I believed that if the virus is dropped in modern society, I am 1000% dead. And quick timeout. With the variants like volatiles and demolishers ominously lurking around the world, I don't see how anyone survives. Within Dying Light, you see small pockets of society holding out with UV light setup, holding back volatiles from killing them, and I don't see how. This virus, these zombies, there's no surviving. Whether it's me, you, or Aiden Caldwell trying to make it, there's just no hope. That's just for Dying Light though, because our next franchise, Minecraft, seems much more optimistic. Because in Minecraft, you don't have giant beasts throwing rocks or spitting acid at you, but growling corpses that slowly approach you. These zombies are like those found in Dead Rising or The Walking Dead, where they only present a real threat when they corner or surround their target. Yes, they can wear armor or pick up tools like shovels, but that doesn't scare me enough to the point where I think I couldn't outrun them or hide well enough to make them give up. Also, Minecraft zombies die to bows and arrows within the Minecraft world. I'm confident that our bullets and missiles would do sufficient damage. In fact, I don't think the Minecraft zombies are that large of a threat when considering their strength or speed. The zombies' real power is that they spawn infinitely at night. So, if these zombies did spawn in the real world, we'd have to deal with nightly attacks from them. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, I would expect this to be catastrophic for humanity at first. But as time progresses and humanity adjusts, you would start to see society gather in larger, more densely populated areas with constant 24-hour light sources, which means I think I'm surviving. But now on to our next stop, Fallout. For those unaware, yes, Fallout does have a virus worth mentioning in this video, and it's called the Scorched Plague. This virus originated from radioactive giant bats called scorch beasts, which spread their vile disease across the land, infecting humans and animals alike. Those infected by the Scorched Plague join a larger hive mind that can manipulate the infected to congregate and attack together when needed. Important things to note about the Scorched Plague are that humans infected by the virus are still able to use weapons like knives and guns, and that even in death, the Scorched can spread their disease by becoming petrified corpses. The virus is super powerful and devastates the entire Appalachian region of America, but it never spreads beyond there. The primary reason is that a group of doctors and our main character were able to develop a vaccine against the Scorched Plague. Naturally, this leads me to believe that if scientists in post-apocalyptic America can develop a cure, modern-day doctors can also. Could I survive the Scorched Plague? Well, it depends on whether the Scorched Plague is dropped directly on my face where I live, with giant radioactive beasts flying in my backyard, or if I'm just living in a world with it. Because if the Scorched Plague is just contained to some other part of the world, I think modern science and military can handle it. But if I'm in the middle of it, probably not. I mean, I was the kid in school who always got sick every time a sickness was going around, so knowing my luck, I'm turning into a Scorched with a pipe pistol real fast. But moving on from Fallout, we're diving into two very similar but also very different zombie viruses. Firstly, let's talk about Project Zomboid. If you've never heard of Project Zomboid, it's an open-world zombie survival game where players must scavenge, build, and manage resources to stay alive in a post-apocalyptic world. Your player is a tiny population that is immune to the airborne variant of the zombie virus, but can still become a zombie if bitten. So while a guesstimate of 95% of the population has become infected, you're part of the small 5% that has a chance of surviving. It's no easy task though. While Project Zomboid zombies are not super fast or mutated, when they get into line of sight of a target, they will chase that person down until they kill their target or their target kills them. In regards to myself, if I were a part of the immune population and left to survive, some factors would decide my chance of survival. The primary one being if I have any fellow immune people with me. Having strength in numbers means taking down zombies and establishing a hiding spot for us to survive in increases the chances of survival. But being left out on my own with no help and a large population of infected trying to eat me means I'm likely not making it. With people to help me, I actually give myself a fair shot at surviving and living a decent life in this post-apocalyptic world. But now it's time for the ultimate beast, Left 4 Dead. I'm not gonna waste your time or talk in circles like a politician. Straight to the point, there's no surviving this virus called the green flu. The virus operates similarly to the one in Project Zomboid, where an airborne variant can infect anyone but a small portion of the world's population. This small, immune population is left to defend themselves against some of the most dangerous and nightmarish mutations of zombies you'll find. With tanks and hunters chasing you down, jockeys and smokers always trying to grab you, and so many more variations trying to kill you, there's no surviving. And I don't care who you are. I give myself, and anyone else, a 0.000000001% chance of surviving. Alright, well, that's the list. While I may be a bit bullish on myself surviving some of these viruses, death is still extremely likely. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comment down below any tips and tricks for me to survive these apocalypses. I might need them.